I've officially hit a personal net worth of $100,000. Now, the day that I'm filming this video, I specifically have $101,675.15 among all my different bank accounts. So that's broken up into about $81,000 towards my investments, primarily my TFSA. I also have over $13,000 in my high interest savings account, and then about $6,700 in my checking account. That one obviously fluctuates the most as I make and spend money every month. Now, to be honest, I actually thought this day would come a lot sooner than age 27, and I want to explain why. Now, we posted a video back in 2021, it was in June, I believe, talking about how I had saved $50,000 by age 25. It was actually just a few days before my 25th birthday, so right before 25, that's where I was at. Now, at the time, I was still working my 9-to-5 corporate job. In that job, I was saving about $2,300 a month, split between my savings and investments, which was a good amount of money at the time. And on top of it, we also had our side hustle, which was YouTube. So I had that full-time money coming in. We had YouTube as our side hustle. We were starting to make some money from that. So in my mind, it was gonna be no time until my net worth doubled. Instead, right after that, so in July 2021, Dennis and I actually quit our full-time jobs to do YouTube and content creation in general full-time, which was a major plot twist for us and obviously changed things up a lot. Now, since then, the last 2.5 years now, pretty much just over that, we've actually grown our income from YouTube and content creation to being more than what we were making in our jobs before. And there's 2 of us to consider as well. So that was a pretty big goal. But at the same time, this is now just our full-time income and we don't have that side money coming in. Now, people definitely have their own personal opinions on whether or not you should quit your full-time job or if you should keep it and just keep making more money on the side to grow your income even more. And depending on what you personally feel and what you personally do, you might think that our decision to change things up and do this full-time was wrong. On the other hand, there's people who feel the exact opposite. They feel like it's great to take a chance when you're young, to try this out. They think what we've done is a big success, so then they would think our decision is right. I don't think it really matters. No matter what you do, people are gonna think it's right and wrong. There's gonna be people in both sides of things. For us personally, I know that we've loved our decision. There's definitely been ups and downs over the course of the last 2.5 years for sure. But when I think back to all the different pros that we've experienced, the fact that we have so much flexibility in our schedule, the amount of things that we've been able to do with that flexibility in the last year, especially the last 12 months, is just really cool. The different opportunities we've had, what we've learned as business owners, you do everything when you own your own business, right? I've learned things that I wouldn't even have thought that I would learn. And on top of that, the amount of time I've had to learn more about personal finance as well, the things that I know and my confidence with money now, that's so much bigger than I would have had time to grow on the side between actually creating videos and the full-time job before. So I feel like being able to bring that to the channel too has been such a plus. But either way, there's so many different pros and things that I wouldn't even think of. Creating our own schedule too, have to mention that. All of that's been really nice and we're happy with our decision. Now, with all of that being said, I do want to touch on the journey from going from $50,000 saved at age 25 to $100,000 saved at age 27, so just over 2 years later. I want to talk about how that growth happened in those 2 years and get into all the details. I also want to talk about my future plans and also how my personal net worth comes into conjunction with our business revenue and earnings and all of that fun stuff too. So let's get into it. Time to dive in. Okay, so like I said before, I had about $50,000 across all my different bank accounts in June 2021. And then my last day, very last day specifically of my 9-to-5 corporate job was July 29th, 2021. So a very quick turnaround between hitting 50K and then quitting my job. And at the time, we actually decided to not pay ourselves anything out for the first 2-ish months. Now, the biggest reason for that is that we'd already had everything all ready to go. We'd set up our business bank accounts, we incorporated, we found an accountant. Everything was all set, but we also knew that we wanted to upgrade some of our tech and different equipment. We got ourselves better laptops, we got an iMac for editing videos. What else did we get? I feel like just some other tech items like that to set everything up. And then after we expensed all of those different things, then we could decide and evaluate how much we could afford to pay ourselves. Now, after all that was out of the way, we settled on paying ourselves out just $2,000 a month each, which basically just covered our core expenses. Back then, I was paying about $1,000 a month for rent, internet, and utilities combined, and then I had another $1,000 for groceries, food, literally anything I wanted to spend my money on. So it was keeping ourselves to that $2,000 every single month. Now, we actually kept this up all the way until February of 2023. 2023, so pretty much a year ago. That means that at the end of 2021, all of 2022, and the beginning of 2023, we were on this like very restrictive $2,000 a month budget. And of that $2,000, I obviously wasn't saving or investing anything. This was just to cover our exact expenses that we had to, like pretty much just the necessities, a little bit of fun here and there, but nothing too crazy. And again, we couldn't actually afford to save or invest anything on a monthly basis. Now, when I think about how long that was actually at the time, relative to how long we've been doing this, that was a long time to be on such a crazy restrictive budget. And on top of that, I think the harder thing for me than just budgeting and reducing my expenses was not seeing my net worth go up at all because I wasn't saving or investing for over an entire year. You also have to remember that from age 22 to age 25, I was watching myself slowly increase my net worth up to that $50,000 number. So even though it was slow sometimes and it was definitely gradual and over time, I was seeing that consistent movement and growth, and consistently seeing that happen, I feel like really grew my own personal sense of accomplishment, my self-worth. It basically just made me feel really good. I had this goal, I was working towards hitting it. I saw the satisfaction of seeing an increase towards that goal every single month. And I don't know, it just felt really good to see that. Now with this new income and setup that we had going on, I didn't have that at all. I saw no monthly progress. I had to just trust the process literally and let it go over time. And it was definitely a hit to my, I don't know, like me feeling good, right? And me feeling like I'm hitting goals. I had to know that I was hitting it. Again, on our business side of things, we were making money and growing that money. It was happening. I'm going to talk about that more in a second. But personally, I wasn't seeing those changes. So I think it was really hard. Now that I'm on the other side of it, I can say it was kind of an interesting exercise, like a mental challenge for myself, an exercise in working on my patience too. But at the time, it was harder than that. Now it's easier to say that looking back. Anyways, even though during this entire time, my personal net worth obviously wasn't growing, we were growing the revenue that we were bringing into our business consistently. That was growing over time. We just didn't translate that into our personal incomes and salary yet. So our business revenue was growing, that was going well. And at the end of 2022, so just under a year and a half into doing our business full time, we were able to pay ourselves out a year-end bonus of about $15,000 each. That's actually what we got to take home from that bonus post taxes, which obviously grew my net worth for the first time in a while. And it went from $50,000 to about $65,000, which was nice. It was great to finally see some movement there, even if it was just this one chunk all at once. And then at the beginning of 2023, so just a few months later, that's when we actually officially increased our income for the first time. So I think it was maybe March was the first time we paid ourselves out a new salary of just over $3,000 a month. Obviously, that was about an $1,000 increase, and the intention with that was to not increase our expenses at all, but to give ourselves $1,000 each to start investing every month again. So on top of that big jump up from $50,000 to $65,000, and now is going to have a monthly increase as well. Again, we obviously had the money in our business bank account in order to do this. I say obviously only because obviously if we're paying ourselves out this bonus and increasing our salary at the same time, we probably could have increased our salary sooner. But as business owners, again, with our accountant too, there's always finding the balance between having a healthy amount of cash in the business for expenses, for business purposes, but also paying ourselves out and what that optimal amount is. Either way, at this time, beginning of 2023, we started increasing our income. Now with that, I was able to save that $1,000 every single month, or invest it, but put it towards my overall net worth, which means that at the end of 2023, I had saved up an additional $10,000, bringing my net worth from $65,000 to $75,000 slowly throughout the year. Now that brings us all the way to December 2023, which was only a few months ago, so we're getting pretty close to up to date here. And at that time, we did two big things. The first thing that we did is we paid ourselves another year-end bonus, this time of about $20,000 each, which again brought my net worth up from that $75,000 mark to $95,000, which was the biggest single jump that it had throughout this entire time. And then the other thing we did is starting in January of this year, we also increased our monthly income again. So our take-home pay each is now sitting at $4,459 exactly per month. And again, between that, actually of that amount now, I'm able to save or invest $2,000 to $2,300 a month. With that big change to how much I'm able to actually contribute to my own personal net worth every single month, I officially crossed the threshold of $100,000 on March 1st, aka on payday, and that was just a few days ago. So this is very fresh and new that I've crossed that $100,000 mark. Now, obviously my path to hitting this amount was kind of funny for a few different reasons. One's the pathway that we took. Like for me, if I look back on it, to how it actually went in the journey, I was consistently growing my income and in turn my savings and my net worth from age 22 to 25. So that was just a consistent, even straight line up, pretty even at least. Then after that, it was even. Like I hit a complete plateau when we quit our jobs for over a year. Then there was a big jump up with a year-end bonus. Then I was consistently saving again with another jump up. And now we're finally back on track with consistently growing our incomes or our net worths, I guess, every month. Plus, still there'll be hopefully some more jumps up every year too with those year-end bonuses. That's the goal. Now, on top of that pathway being kind of funny and interesting, there's also the element that we have some control over when our personal net worths grow. Obviously, we don't control how much revenue our business makes. There's some things in our control. We can do everything we can to grow our revenue and increase the amount of money that we're making. But what we do have control over for sure is when and how much we pay ourselves out from our business, right? I, in theory, could have hit this milestone earlier, but we've made the changes to our incomes and our personal, like how much we're going to pay ourselves based on how comfortable we are with our revenue cycles, with how the business is growing, with being new business owners. So again, maybe I could have hit this earlier based on us wanting to pay ourselves out or feeling more comfortable earlier, but it's just interesting seeing these different changes and knowing I, in theory, could have hit this a few months ago if I wanted to, but instead we chose this time. Overall, I definitely feel happy with where I'm at personally. If I look, I have $100,000 in my bank accounts, which is still a lot of money to me. It feels crazy. Of that, I currently have 70% invested. We just posted a video really recently, a few weeks ago, about how I maxed out my tax-free investment account, TFSA, tax-free savings account, which was a huge goal and milestone for me. That one was really, really exciting. My contribution room for that is $69,500. So that's fully invested and maxed out right now. And then I'm opening up a new investment account later this month that we're gonna be talking about really soon. And by that point, I'll be able to invest more money too. So once that happens, if we were to look at like a pie chart of my net worth, I'll have 80% of my money invested and I'll have about 20% in savings, mostly my high interest savings account, but obviously some in my checking account too. That's where my income gets deposited. It's where I pay my bills from. I pay my credit card from there too. So there's always got to be some money in that too. Okay, so now we're officially caught up. This is literally where I'm at in real time right now. I have $101,675.15 split across my different bank accounts. So what's next for me? I feel like when I hit $50,000, it was pretty obvious what my next goal would be, that it would be to get to that $100,000 amount. I feel like it's just obvious, you know, like we have these intervals of $5, 10, 50,000, whatever. Obviously after hitting 50, the next big number that I feel like everyone wants to hit, it's like the first big goal, is getting to $100,000. So I didn't have to think too much about it. But now that I've hit the $100,000 mark, I feel like my options are more open-ended. There's not just like one obvious next thing that you want to hit. So my plan is to kind of mentally switch gears from just thinking about my personal bank accounts and the exact amounts that they're at, and instead think a little bit more big picture. The first thing is that I really do want to continue to keep maxing out my investment accounts. So my TFSA, it's maxed out right now fully for 2024, but the contribution room does grow every single year. So every year at the top of the year, my first goal is going to be to continue to keep that account maxed out forever. On top of that, I'm going to be opening up an FHSA next. A video is coming really soon all about that, exactly what I'm doing. But that as well for at least the next few years up until I buy my first primary residence for me to live in. Up until then, I want to continue to max that out too. And then I know I'm going to be opening up an RRSP and contributing towards that too. And over time, working towards maxing that out. That's going to be another big investment goal for me. So with wanting to max those accounts out, I am going to be continuing to focus on growing my personal net worth. This year, there's 10 more months, right, after now. So March onwards, 10 more left in 2024. If I continue with my plan to invest $2,000 a month, I'll already grow my net worth by at least another $20,000 this year. So I guess that means by the end of the year, even without a bonus, I want to be at over $120,000. So sure, in theory, you could say my next number goal is like 150, 200 and stuff like that. But instead of having those numbers in mind, I think it'll just be nice when I hit them. Instead, my goals will be to max out this specific account, max out this specific account, invest this much into my RSP. That'll be more my number focused goals. Other than that, another really big financial goal that we talked about before is that Dennis and I really want to buy real estate for the first time. And I say finally, I don't even know if I said finally, but in my head I was saying finally, because this has been a big picture goal for us for so long now. We have a whole video actually up on the channel going over the very first video in a series of us going towards buying our first piece of real estate, but we really do want to make this happen within the next year, maybe next calendar year too, but sometime in the fairly short term, it's actually working towards happening now. And that's a big change in financial goal. there's a few different things. There's obviously a mindset shift with this goal because, how do I word it? Obviously, you have to spend some money to buy a house, right? So it's actually decreasing your net worth for a little bit, the money that you have to go and spend on this house. But overall, you'll be increasing it in general with the equity you build in the home. Now, we're going to see how we go about exactly buying this house. Where is that money going to come from? Is it coming from our savings accounts? Whatever. We'll talk more about this in a future video for sure and get into all the technical details for that. But either way, it's like working on my mindset of decreasing my money to increase my net worth. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. Hopefully it does. But the biggest thing is like my goals so far, right, have been very like check box based. And I love a to-do list and checking things off. So for me, it's like hit 50,000, check, hit 100,000, check. Now it's more so increase my net worth overall with real estate and having that in my investment sphere. So just a different way of looking at things. Okay, so to sum that up, my financial goals moving forward are to continue to max out my TFSA, open and max out my FHSA, do both of those every year. On top of that, I want to start contributing towards my RRSP, and I ultimately do want to max that out as well. That'll happen in the future. And then the third and biggest thing is to buy real estate. First, an investment property that builds equity. It's an asset. It'll grow our net worth over time and then be able to use that to actually buy a primary residence for us to live in. Kind of like a two-part goal there, but those will be my ongoing financial goals that I'm working towards hitting. Now, another thing that I wanted to touch on, because I've been thinking about this a lot lately, I feel like, is that I'm getting to this interesting age, or I guess just point in time in general, just point in time where I'm entering my later 20s and things are kind of shifting in my mind. Obviously 27, like my 20s are not over yet, but I'm definitely in those later 20s phase. Later 20s. I don't know when to start, so if it's 27 or 28. Let me know what you think. I feel like I'm in denial that it's the late 20s yet. I'm waiting for 28 to hit in a few months for that. But either way, I'm feeling the shift and that I'm in this new phase of life coming up. And I feel like I've spent my 20s so far really focused on making money, on saving money, investing money, on determining what my career path is going to be, whether that was back before what we're doing now or actually working on and growing our business. And I feel like those things are all going to stay the same for life, I'm pretty sure, for Dennis and I. Like, I know we're going to be focused on making money, our business, on saving money, all of that. But on top of that, as our core foundation that's now been built, there's shifts that happen as you get to this new phase of life. It's not quite here for us yet. And again, when I say new phase of life, it's like the classic stuff, right? Like, it doesn't have to be when you're in your late 20s. I want to make that clear. But as someone who is in a relationship, we've been in this relationship for almost 7 years now, we feel the coming, right, of like getting married, starting a family, all of that. Not yet. No one get ahead of themselves. We want to buy real estate first. We do have some stuff that we want to work on with our business first, but it's just coming around the corner and there's those changes happening. And my point in bringing all this up is that with those life changes, there's also differences in your expenses, the types of things you're spending money on, and it changes your budget too, which I really haven't had happen. There's been no increase to my expenses for the last 5 to 7 years. Now, I remind myself that this is one of the main reasons that I wanted to prioritize making and saving money in my 20s so far, so that when things do change, I've had this foundation of all this money saved up, and I'm not hitting these new life changes and life expenses without having money in the bank and ready to go for myself and having that foundation. Anyway, it's interesting to think about all these different things. And again, I want to keep in mind that Dennis and I are pretty frugal people. We don't expect ourselves to lifestyle creep unnecessarily. It's just these bigger expenses that are naturally going to come that's going to happen. I want to hear you guys' thoughts on this too, just in general. Do you feel it just in the air coming when this new life stage is happening? I feel like I haven't been in a new life phase in a while. All these things happen every 4 years, right? You graduate high school, you graduate university, you have your new grad era. Now we've been in our building our business era, and I feel like we're getting close to a switch again. And it's just interesting hitting that phase. Also, Dennis and I have been talking a lot recently too. This is kind of random, but on the same vein of things, that we feel like changes in our body as we're getting older too. I know you're rolling your eyes if you're out here and you're older than 27, but literally we're taking longer to recover from injuries than we did in our early 20s. All these different things are happening that are changing that I feel like give you the signs that you're getting older and life is changing. None of this is bad, by the way. Hopefully this sounds good as I'm kind of just giving you my thoughts off the top. But anyway, things are happening, things are changing. I try to make sure that when I feel these things, I'm acknowledging them and I'm aware so that nothing's a shock to me. I want to be mentally prepared for my new life stages and everything that comes with it. So that's kind of the phase that I'm in now, and I want to hear what you guys think about all this in the comments below, so let me know. Anyways, I really hope that you guys liked hearing this chatty, rambly update, kind of the journey to me hitting $100,000, which is a big milestone. And if you want to hear more about my money journey and how it's been going, make sure you check out this video next about how I maxed out my TFSA, my tax-free investment account. That was also a really exciting one. And of course, we'll be back next week with another video, so get ready for that one.